Kaz leaned against the wall beside the medbay's doors, a paper-wrapped stick of synthetic tobacco hanging from her lips as she stared at the ceiling. The battle was still fresh in her mind, watching as one by one the others fell. Cassandra and Lucy had stepped up to help clean the others' wounds, but there was a problem. Drake, Cassius, and Destrier needed serious surgical attention. The steroid gel the fabricators in the medbay produced was doing wonders on keeping their burns and wounds clean and infection-free. But the burns needed debridement, and in Drake's case, surgery to remove his armor's backplate. Kaz shuddered, remembering the smell that had lingered in her nose for days after she helped haul him to the medbay. Pulling the cigarette from between her lips, she sighed. It had been less than a day since the battle had ended, and a pall hung over the survivors. Several non-combatants had been wounded or killed in the chaos. The Geknosions had seemed to target them specifically. Shaking her head, Kaz took a long drag off the cigarette, hands shaking. For the first time since she joined the fight, things were looking hopeless. It was looking like the end for them. Then, a heavy frame leaned against the wall beside her. Harl's soft voice pulling her out of her head. It's Kaz, right? Kaz nodded. She held no love for the Geknosions Drake seemed to. Harl paused, seeming to work up the courage before speaking. My dad wanted me to continue where he left off, and I just wanted to let you know there's a Geknosion who specializes in human physiology here in Golgotha. She's good at what she does. More importantly, she's not a fan of the regime. Kaz looked over at Harl, the bulky Geknosion picking nervously at his claws. Quietly, she asked, Okay, what's the catch? Harl looked over, still picking at his claws, eyes flicking away from hers. She was married off to a wealthy merchant after her parents caught her having a secret relationship with the human slave they kept around. She lives in the market district now. Her husband keeps her locked in the house and under constant guard after she tried to run away. Kaz regarded Harl differently, noticing by the tone of his voice he wasn't happy about this woman's situation. And you know this how? The look on Harl's face was a sad one as he spoke. She showed up outside my apartment building's front door. She begged me for help, so I brought her inside. She told me all of that while crying her eyes out. It seemed like she'd been being beaten, or worse, by her husband. A small flame of fury ignited in Kaz's chest, and she stubbed out her cigarette on the wall behind her. Say no more. Does this gecko have a name so I don't retrieve the wrong one? Harl nodded sharply, straightening and looking her in the eyes. Yes, ma'am. Her name is Martha. The monarch sat beside First General Gomon as they watched the footage broadcasted by Mogo during the battle. Devin seethed as he watched the petulant parasite that had killed his advisor rip open the side of the Gallic on repeat. Finally, he paused to frame with the parasite's face in full view. He is their leader, Devin growled, his hatred for the human evident in his tone. First General Gomon nodded, pulling a fungal cigar from between his lips as he took in the boy's face, paying special attention to the long scar across his face and the circular one on his cheek. There was a clicking sound in his head as he used the implant that had replaced his left eyes to take a photo. Slowly, the old general's face twisted into a grin, revealing the metal implants that had replaced his teeth. He is just a boy, and he wields such strength. I'm glad you called us in, Devin. Gomon stubbed his cigar out in an ashtray, made from a parasite's skull, a wicked grin on his face. Because this is going to be fun. Devin felt a twinge of fear as the mercenary leader stood, cybernetic tail clicking and clacking as it swayed with his movement. The merc left Devin's royal office with a dark, murderous chuckle. Kaz watched through a pair of binoculars as the guards changed shift yet again. She marked down the time in her notepad as the warm sun beat down on her back. To call the place the merchant lived a mansion would be an understatement. Tall stone walls fenced in a massive lawn covered in flowers and green grass. Geknosions rather than humans patrolled the garden, while tending to the flowers. Guards in slim, dark-hued power armor guarded both the front entrance and the gate, while also occupying towers on each corner of the tall stone wall. Every now and then she spotted hulking figures pass by the building's many windows. They didn't quite look Geknosian, thick and stocky with arms that ended in massive six-fingered hands. The building itself was a spectacle. White stone and wrought durasteel giving it a regal and expensive facade. A small tower jutted from the roof, white smoke floating from a chimney at the top of its conical roof. The building itself was built like a neo-fantasy castle, the roof holding a large pool of water where a Geknosian with graying scales swam laps surrounded on all sides by a low wall topped with shrubs. Large windows filled the walls and revealed a luxurious interior of gold and purple. Kaz lowered the binoculars and powered them down. She was well over 1,000 yards away, but the binoculars compensated for the distance with technology she didn't understand. With a jolt of sadness, she realized Destier could probably explain it in detail, smiling the entire time as he got that spark in his eyes. Sighing, she finished her sketch of the castle's grounds from memory. She'd been laying atop one of the massive power line towers that dotted Golgotha since before the sun came up, just watching this one property. With Remen back at home to watch over the others, she felt confident in doing so. Though, in the back of her mind, she did worry someone would find them while she wasn't there. They were in a tough spot. The others would be dead without the medbay's sterigel, but their location was compromised. The mercs knew exactly where they were and could strike at any moment. She hoped they'd at least thinned out their forces, but she couldn't be sure, and that uncertainty rested in her gut like a lead weight. With a heavy sigh, she closed her notepad and packed it and her binoculars into her rifle bag, before wrapping it in her trash ghillie. Wearing the clothes of a street wretch, she began making her way down the power tower. Second General Goom piloted the thumb-sized silent reconnaissance drone past the now derelict Galax in the bunker's entrance atrium. Ducking the drone through the warped blast doors, he flew it over the head of an elderly human standing guard with a shotgun. Rolling a piece of round, hard candy around his mouth, Goom mapped the interior of the bunker, taking careful note of where the parasites liked to linger when they weren't fighting. He chuckled at their pitiful numbers, flying the drone deeper into the bowels of the bunker. He flew into the generator's room, inspecting the ancient cold fusion generator. A wicked grin came to his face as he examined the exposed wiring and rusted shell. He'd be able to use it as a bomb to wipe them off the map when he was done. But first... With deft movements of the small controls, Goom found the medbay and quickly scanned its 5 occupants. 2 women in good health, monitored 3 men in critical condition and medically induced comas. Landing in a corner of the room, Goom left the drone's active camouflage on, and powered all but its location broadcasting equipment down. Letting the data compile into a useful format, he sighed happily and spun in his chair, gazing lovingly at the infiltrator-class battle droid he'd been custom-fitting for just such a mission as this. The bulky droid had active camouflage, sound dampening, shoulder-mounted railguns, a chemical grenade launcher in its left forearm, and an infrared laser cannon mounted to its right. Alongside the 6 powerful fingers on each hand, it could get any job done while leaving no witnesses. Goom chuckled. This thing wasn't built for stealth necessarily, nor surgical precision, but rather for something he lovingly dubbed silent annihilation. There wouldn't be any witnesses because... Goom laughed wickedly at the thought, musing aloud. Because the droid won't leave behind a single living being, sentient or not. After all, it hasn't failed yet.